Welcome everybody. I'm early and I better put my clock out here so I can watch the time. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna mute this so it doesn't make any noise. I muted my radio and here we go. Oh, we have 9 minutes. So you early birds, it's good to see you. You're seeing me get all organized here. Okay, this is good. This is good. Okay. All right. I'm looking at some questions and answers already. This is nice. And you early birds, there's 2 ways to communicate. There's the Q&A that you can type your questions in. Then there's also the chat. And you can do either one. We were going to try to make it so that you can only do one, but people, go to either one. This is Gail Collins. Hi, Gail. And it says, after blooming last summer, my Baptisia got leggy, so I trimmed it back. Unfortunately, this year I had only a few blooms on the shrubs that are ordinarily prolific bloomers. If I don't trim them this year, will the flowers return in abundance next year? Well, Baptisia is actually a dieback perennial, and you just cut the woody structures back every spring, and then the new growth comes up, and then it really helps to fertilize them. What happened the last couple of summers, it was so hot and so dry in the growing season that they really didn't get a chance to put a lot of stored energy into their root systems. So make sure they stay well watered this year. Give them some fertilizer right now, and they'll be using it to kind of store up the energy in their root system. They'll be able to produce a lot more next season. Oh, excuse me. I'm going to sneeze. You can tell that I'm allergic to all plants out in the nursery. So I have this wonderful job for someone that has allergies to maples, oaks, all that kind of stuff. So excuse my sneezing. And I'm in a room all by myself, so that's why I don't have my face mask on. So we've got 10 people. Welcome, welcome. You're still really early, and I'm actually early today. So we have 7 minutes before we're going to get started. I'm kind of looking at some of the early questions. This is from Karen Lustig. How soon can I either add weed and feed, or weed beater and weed be gone to my lawn? That's a great question. I'm going to address that during the garden coach session, but I'll answer it early for you, Karen. It says, I last fertilized my lawn in mid-May, but have a lot of weeds now. And you know what? We all missed, many of us, including me, missed the opportunity to get my weed killer down because it was so wet at the end of May, and then we got so busy and it got so hot so early, I didn't get my weed killer down either. And because the turf has been having such stress, these are cool season turf grasses. We have not had cool season weather at all. And so with the heat, over the 95-degree temperatures have just been torture for the cool season grasses, and the lack of rainfall have been just terrible. So the weeds are taking over. So I've encouraged everybody that comes to the Plant Information Center in the last week and a half, I've encouraged them to hold off on doing the weed killers. We still have a lot of actively growing landscape plants in the garden, and if you use a weed killer, and my favorite is the chickweed clover and oxalis. This is the best weed killer, and it actually kills 200 different weeds, not just chickweed, clover, and oxalis. But it has a chemical in it that will volatilize when the temperatures go over 85. So on all the labels, they say don't use weed killers if the temperatures can go over 85 degrees in the next 30 days. Guess what? That can happen. And so what happens is those chemicals stay in the soil, they volatilize, they turn to vapors and they volatilize and float into the actively growing plants. You can get really serious damage. It doesn't kill the plants, but it causes them to all twist up, and all the leaves get all contorted and twisted, and they feel as hard as plastic because it causes the cells to multiply and reproduce very quickly. And so we don't want to encourage that on our plants. So wait until the second week of August, fertilize the lawn, and then use a weed killer. Now, if you have 30% or more weeds in the lawn, it really is beneficial to use a granular weed and feed, and it has the fertilizer and the weed killer together. You want to apply it when they're not predicting rain for 24 hours, and then you're going to get the granular out when there's still dew on the lawn. So early in the day, or if you're going to do it later, water lightly so all the broadleaf weeds are moist. Then when you go over it with the spreader, the granules stick to those leaves, they're absorbed in, and then they kill the weed faster. And you leave it on for 24 hours, then you can water it off. And when you do that, you're watering those granules into the soil. And then that puts the fertilizer down in the soil, revs up the metabolism of the weeds and the grasses, and then the weeds die much more quickly, and then the grasses that are fertilized fill in more quickly. So the best time to do that is August 15th to September 15th. We call that the Labor Day, fertilizer and weed killer. And so let me see. I think I answered that. Karen Lustig. Usha, does this weed killer work on dandelions? Yes, yes, yes. This one does. This one does beautifully. And then so does the weed and feed. The dandelion's the easiest one to kill. So it's really good. Good questions. I'm looking at the time. Don't worry, people that are just signing in. We have 4 minutes till we start. I'm just answering some of the earlier questions that have come up. I did get an email question in also early, and the person, and I don't have the name, but the person asked and said that at the beginning of the season, her serviceberry or amelanchier looked beautiful, but now it's not looking so good. And the poor serviceberries took a real hit last year in February when we had that polar vortex. It killed a lot of the branches back, and so they were just coming back this year. And this spring, everybody, was a really good spring because we warmed up at the end of March, and when we say warmed up, the ground thawed, the soil thawed. It wasn't frozen at the end of March. And anytime the temperature of the soil goes over 40, the roots can actively grow. The turf grass roots grew. All of the plants got a chance to grow roots before the active growth season. So instead of saying they took 2 steps forward, I'm going to say they took 4 steps forward. Then when we had that 8-inch rain on that one weekend in May, and it was the 3rd weekend in May, and that was overkill on too much water. The thing about it though is it was perfect timing for the plants. They were all needing water, and so it was perfect timing. So they got the water just as they were starting to form their leaves. But some of the areas were too wet, there was standing water, and some of the baby roots got killed back. So the plants took 4 steps forward, 1 step back. But they really got a good start this season. Unfortunately, it got so hot in June and has stayed hot ever since that plants have really been having a tough time, and especially serviceberries. Most of us, me too, my serviceberries are showing drought damage and heat damage. That means the first leaves that formed are turning that beautiful apricot orange or the apricot color, and that's a sign that they're not getting enough water or they're having trouble with the heat. And so, water as frequently as you can. At least give them a good soaking once or twice a week to keep them happier. And then give them some fertilizer. I've actually, the ones that are looking the most stressed, I've actually given them Root and Grow, the transplanting solution that has the high phosphorus and a rooting hormone, just to help them kind of get back organized again. Okay, so now I'm looking at the clock. We have 1 minute till the official start of the Garden Coach. I'm answering some of the questions early for those of you who are signed on. We've got 21 people. Welcome to our virtual learning center. I'm so happy that people have really responded to this, and it's great working with our marketing department. They've taken over the learning center activities and are hiring us guest speakers. And so this week is fun. Tomorrow is a virtual tour of Tony Fomer's garden. Oh my gosh, how many of you have signed up for that? That's going to really be neat. His garden is spectacular. And to have him do the tour of it, oh my God, you're so lucky. I have to be at the Plant Information Center, so I won't get to watch it until it gets posted on the Chalet YouTube channel. So you all know about that. All of these sessions are posted on the Chalet YouTube channel. So if you don't get to sign up for the session, you can watch them after the fact. So, and you can link to that. You can do that by logging onto YouTube and or also going from our web page to find those. Let me see. I'm looking. Is there something to kill crabgrass that is in the lawn? And that's a great question. And okay, everybody, it is officially 1 p.m. So I'm going to do my official greeting. Welcome, welcome, everybody. We've got 21 people here to work with the garden coach. I'm honored that they're calling me the garden coach instead of Miss Bossy Pants. And my husband would call me Miss Bossy Pants because I'm telling everybody what to do. But here I'm the garden coach. Now, in the topics, these questions are so wonderfully timely, and I've got these topics. I don't know, and I can't answer this. I know what we had decided to do is Carly, the assistant manager of the marketing department, was sending my notes to everybody, and I don't know on the garden coach if she was going to send them beforehand, so you could have them in your in your hands, or sending them afterwards. Now on some of the webinars, she was sending them beforehand. Oh, cool. Someone said that she got them an hour ago. Okay, so you have the notes, so you can follow along. Thank you, Cindy, for letting us know. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and answer the questions. Is there something to kill crabgrass that's in the lawn? Yes, and crabgrass has just busted out all over because it's a warm season grass, and with these hot temperatures. And I get a great report once a week showing, and it's a firm that tracks all the soil temperatures. And last week it was horrendous. On Friday, the soil temperatures were 85 degrees. We were having 100-degree temperatures on Saturday with the temperature humidity index. But to have 85-degree soil is just obscene. And those temperatures are high enough to actually kill the roots of the cool season turf grasses. So it was a good thing we had a break over the weekend. Sunday and Monday were wonderful. And the soil temperatures dropped back down to 71. But long story short, the warm temperatures enabled all the crabgrass seeds to germinate. And where you see it first is along the sidewalks and along edges of driveways and along edges of the streets, because the concrete, the asphalt heats up the lawn areas more quickly, and that's what causes crabgrass to germinate. And then it's been growing like crazy. So there are wonderful things to use. And where did I put it? Okay, this is one of the last hose-in sprayers that we had, and we sold out. We're going to get more of this in. But this is from the Bio Advanced, and this is the old label Bayer Advanced. The new label is Bio Advanced, and it's a hose-in, and it's Crabgrass Killer for lawns. And you can spray it on, and it kills the crabgrass, and it also kills a lot of the other weeds, and it won't damage the bluegrasses, the ryegrasses, and the fescues. So it also comes in a ready-to-use spray bottle, or we call that an RTU, ready to use. So we have that. We also have it in an ortho brand, Crabgrass Killer, and a bonide brand of Crabgrass Killer. So so it kills the crabgrass. The cool thing about crabgrass is it's an annual weed, and it germinates from seed that is thrown, and so it makes so many seeds that it's one of those things. If you see crabgrass now, make a mental note that you want to use a Crabgrass Preventer next April, and it's the first fertilizer with it's called a pre-emergent weed preventer. And that's the bonide brand is the one we carry here at Chalet, and it's called Crabgrass Preventer, and it has the fertilizer and the pre-emergent. So that's a good one to do. There's another excellent one, and it's called Scots Step 1 for seeding. So if you have enough bare areas and you want to you want to plan to use some grass seed next spring, that's the one you want to use, because it won't prevent the grass seed from germinating, but it does prevent all the weed seeds from germinating. Plus, it has the active ingredient is called Mesotrion, and it actually will kill creeping bent grass. It also kills and prevents nut sedge from growing in the lawn. So I love that product, and again, it's in a light blue bag. I don't have a great big bag to show you here, but it's in a light blue colored bag. and it's called Scots Step 1 for Seeding. And it's the only Scots product fertilizer that we carry here at Chalet. So, okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm looking at some of these other questions. What I had always planned to do, but since I signed on early, I broke my rule about answering questions first. What I always like to do is go over what I've been seeing in the Plant Information Center, and you know how that works now. We've modified and changed the nursery office into a staff-only center. And you walk to the back side and you go to the windows. There's a window number 1 and window number 2. And there's us horticulturists are there answering questions, and people can come and ask questions about anything, and we will get you the answers. And then it's a self-service out in the nursery. We'll show you where to go. We do have what we call facilitators, people that can actually walk you out and show you and help you. But if you have any major questions, you come to the windows, and the horticulturists are stationed there. They don't want to have us out there to get tied up, and they want us standing there answering questions. So that's how it works now. Now, be sure and tune in, since you know about the Garden Coach. We're doing that every Thursday. And then our regular virtual learning programs are either on Tuesday mornings or Friday mornings. And then we're also doing virtual workshops where you can order and purchase the plant materials in the container, and then it's delivered early, or you can pick it up early. And then when you sign on to the virtual, you can do it together with who's ever doing the demonstration. Most of them are being done by Earl, who is in our signature department. So that's kind of the latest here, here at Chalet. Now, I'm going to go ahead, and I'm seeing that a lot of people some people got the notes, and some of them didn't get the notes. So what I'll do is I'll keep track of that, and we'll resend them afterwards, so you have them. Okay, so what I do is I just sit down and put the topics that I want to address based on what I've seen, and then what you should be looking at and watching out for in your own garden. So again, to start over, and I sound like a broken record. I mean, a terrible broken record, but because of the heat and the lack of rainfall that we've been experiencing, it's this extreme heat. This is really considered extreme heat for our area, and it's been in the last 5 weeks. And honestly, as I said in my notes, this is close to torture for all of our landscape plants and our lawns in particular. And and as people. Now today is just beautiful, isn't it? I mean, it's absolutely heavenly today. So hopefully, wouldn't it be nice if it was like this the rest of the whole summer? Wow, that'd be a wish come true. Okay, so now, I talked about the 85-degree temperatures last Friday. And so now people are saying, well, what can you plant this time of year? And any of the tropicals are phenomenal. The tropicals love this high temperatures and the high humidity. This is like the weather where they're native and where they're from. So any of the tropicals, we've got a beautiful collection of tropicals. So, and I like to take them and actually take the pot. I don't take them out of the pot, but I dig a hole in my garden and sink the pot in the garden. So you get a moderating effect, with the soil temperature of, and instead of having the root systems out in this ambient air temperature for 95 degrees. So that's one of the best things you can do. But look at all the wonderful full sun, heat tolerant plants that are out there. All the salvias are still phenomenal to plant. The annual Vinca, flower, it's Catharanthus but it looks like the sunny cousin of our wonderful standard impatiens. But those are wonderful right now, and you can always plant those now. Keeping things well watered. You can still plant, but again, treat things, and I say this over and over at every one of these garden coach sessions. You want to treat them like intensive care patients. And so woody plants, the first 3 weeks that they're in the ground, water them every day. Take a watering wand where the end of the wand is right down at the root level. Divide the root ball into quarters and then water each quarter to the count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then do that 3 times around all 4 of the quarters. That way you've really saturated the root ball, and at least do that every day for the first 3 weeks. Then after that, the next 5 weeks, and that covers those 8 weeks it takes for the roots to grow from the root ball into the surrounding soil. The next 5 weeks, every other day, do that watering, and that's especially when the temperatures are this high. Okay. All right. So now, watch that rainfall. I was so excited that we had rain Tuesday night, and was so disappointed when I went out to check my rain gauge. It was only 0.2 of an inch. So I ended up running my sprinkler system anyway. So you really, watch it. Don't just assume that since we had some rain that it was enough to get down into the root level, because it really has not been. Okay, so all right, now these are the things that you need to watch out for in your garden, and what we're seeing and what I'm diagnosing. And the first thing is, I get a newsletter once a week. It's from the Chicagoland Golf Course Superintendents Association, and this one was phenomenal. The number of diseases that have shown up from the heat and the high humidity are just incredible. Until this last 2 weeks, all we were seeing was Pythium, and Pythium, they also call it a snow mold. When you look at Pythium, it has a white Mycelium, it's the fungal growth at the base of the grass blade, and then also the tips are turning brown. The nice thing about Pythium is that it just affects the blades. It doesn't really get into the crown. So you can use a fungicide. The Immunox for lawns is wonderful, and then fertilize. And that's the turf experts always say you want to suppress the fungus and grow the grass. So by using a fungicide and giving it fertilizer, you're going to grow the grass, and it will, once the temperatures get cooler and cooler, it will outgrow it. But the other things that are showing up are brown patch. Okay, and brown patch, we're notorious for seeing brown patch in this area, and this is a photo, so you're not going to see it, but this is brown patch. This is brown patch, and you might be seeing that in your lawn. But I have to show you something else. The other thing we're seeing a lot of is a thing called LDS, Localized Dry Spot, and look how close this looks to patch disease. Okay, so be careful, and if you're not sure, bring a sample in. I can throw it under the microscope, and I can tell you whether it's brown patch or not. And usually if it's showing up now, it's almost too late to take care of it. You can spray with a fungicide, that's the Immunox for lawns, and then fertilize, and it'll grow out. But usually if it has it now, the time to prevent it was back in May, and you spray the fungicide when the fungal organisms are inoculating it. But just be prepared to replenish and revitalize the lawn by doing that your Labor Day fertilization early. So the period of time is August 15th through September 15th, the best time to use fertilizer of the whole year. That's when the grass plants are going to use it the most efficiently. And so you could go a little earlier with like a weed and feed if you have weeds in the lawn, and that's the Bonide product. It just is labeled weed and feed, and it says you can use it in late spring or fall. You use it a little early, and that will really help the lawn recover, and hopefully we'll keep having these cooler temperatures, and with these cooler temperatures the lawn will really it'll really perk back up with that with that fertilizer. Okay, now this is creeping bentgrass. I'm going to take it out, but it's going to make a big mess. But anyway, this is creeping bentgrass. I must have had probably 12 people come in from last weekend through the beginning of this week with these samples. Or if they didn't have the sample, they came in saying, there's whole brown areas of my lawn. And this is a warm season grass. It's called creeping bentgrass. It's the same type of grass that they use on golf course greens. And I call this the the unruly, undisciplined teenage boy. Whereas when it's on a golf course green, it's cut only a ½ inch long. And that's like sending that teenage boy to military school. His hair's sheared, and he wears a uniform, and he doesn't smoke, and he has no tattoos. This is the teenage boy that has long hair, smokes all the time, has tattoos, and what this does, this warm season grass tends to grow up over and above our cool season grasses, our bluegrasses, our perennial rye, and our fescues. It starts in the shade, but can grow out into the sunny areas. And it's considered a real weed. Now, for many years, we used to have to kill the whole lawn. And a lot of times the specialists would come in and use Roundup and kill the whole lawn, including the creeping bent grass, and then slit seed it and start from scratch. Well, I think it's been 15 years now. There was a product developed called Mesotrion. And it was developed by the Syngenta company, and it was a liquid, back then. And it was tested and released, and it went mostly to turf specialists, and they wanted it first. And so we weren't allowed to sell it in the retail store. And then by the time we could sell in the retail store, it was available from other vendors at a much lower price. So we never carried it in the liquid. Then 5 years ago, Syngenta developed the granular formula of Mesotrion, and it went to the Scots company. Scots gets the contracts with a lot of the chemical companies because they have a bigger pen, and more negotiating. So they got the rights to the Mesotrion granular, or you get the rights for 7 years. It's 7 or 9 years. It's 7 years, and it's interesting because they changed all of their pre-emergent active ingredients in all their pre-emergent products to the Mesotrion. And that's what I'm talking about, the Scots step 1 for seeding. So that what's cool about it is it really works on early growing bent grass rather than this real old mature. But if you've got this situation in your lawn where the bent grass is growing over the surface, you can use like a leaf rake and just gently rake it up. It tends to layer over. The reason it browns out is as it's growing over the bluegrass, it has very rudimentary roots. It tries to put roots down through the bluegrass, and it usually gets tangled up just in the thatch. So then when we're really hot and dry like this, it browns out. So that last weekend where we were 100 and 105, 110 with the temperature humidity index, it just fried it. It just toasted it out. And so rake that up. You'll see as you're raking it up, and you can see in here when I'll show you, there's some little green tips that shows that it still has life in it. Okay, see the green tips right there? And here, okay, I'm gonna hold this up. Oh, look, that looks really good. You can see those green tips. I'm right at the camera. Okay, that means it could start growing again, but it also means that Mesotrion in the granular is going to affect that. Now, what that does, what makes that chemistry so wonderful, is it burns the chlorophyll out of creeping bent grass and also things like nimblewill, and so it turns it white. It's so fun to look at a lawn that's been treated with that Mesotrion because it looks like ghost white. Where the weedy grasses are, but it kills them because no chlorophyll, they can't grow. So it's a really neat thing. So if you're having those kinds of grassy weed problems, or if you're seeing a lot of nutsedge in your lawn, use the step 1 for seeding in for your fall fertilization, and August 15th to September 15th. So it will really do the trick. And then if you had this much in your lawn, use it in the fall, and then use it again next April 15th. So that would be like your pre-emergent weed control. So really good product. And the fertilizer is great because it's designed for seeding. So it has a good phosphorus component in it. So really good. Okay, so now, all right, there's so many insects and fungal diseases in the vegetable gardens, and so we're seeing powdery mildew on squashes, powdery mildew on cucumbers, not so much powdery mildew on tomatoes, but most all the others. And the best thing to use on powdery mildew. And then also, oh, I've got to show you this. On basil, we're seeing downy mildew. And oh, we're seeing impatiens downy mildew too, in case you bought impatiens someplace besides Chalet and you didn't get the new beacon types. It's showing up really early this year because of the heat. And then when you're watering, it's a water mold. And this is what downy, ooh boy, this really cultured in the bag. Look, see all the white fluffy stuff on it? That's the downy mildew mycelium. Oh, that's cool. I hadn't looked at this for a day. And see, that's the back side of the leaf. And I'm going to show you another one. I know I'm weird, aren't I? Yes, I'm weird. My husband will be the first one to say that. Okay, so see, there it is again. And see the brown fuzzies, or they're kind of gray fuzzies. That's downy mildew. So what you need to use on that, things like Immunox, the systemic fungicides don't work on water molds. Ooh, you can tell I'm allergic to mold. I'm starting to, ooh. Okay, so you need to use the chlorothalonil, which is the active ingredient. It used to be called Daconil, and then Bonide, they call it Funganil. Oh, this is reflecting light here. It's called Funganil, and the active ingredient is right there, chlorothalonil, right there. And that will take care of downy mildew. So you want to spray your basil. It was designed for veg crops for many, many years. You can spray one day, harvest the next day after you wash it. You have to wash it well. So that's one of the best things. We also have a product called Bonide Tomato and Veg, but we've sold out of it. You know, people were coming in and buying like crazy. And it's a sulfur spray with actually an earth-friendly natural insecticide. And that's another good one to use. Sulfur is an abiotic, and it will take care of things like downy mildew. Copper is another wonderful abiotic, and it's called copper soap, and it's a liquid form of copper, and it uses, that's the shaker bottle. And what you do is it comes in a ready-to-use spray bottle, but you also have a concentrate, and that will take care of, the copper will take care of anything fungal and anything bacterial. So it's a good one to use as well. Okay, now, okay. Oh, Japanese beetles are everywhere. They've awakened and they're everywhere. One of the frustrating things is on roses, if you've treated your roses with this wonderful, this is my #1 favorite product that we sell here at Chalet. It's again from Bio Advanced. It's called the All-in-One Rose and Flower Care. You use this on roses at the rate of 2 ounces, and it comes with this handy measuring cup. See the ounce marks on it? You measure 2 ounces in a quart of water and pour it right where the rose is coming out of the ground, right? It's called the root collars, where the stem attaches to the roots. It's absorbed by the plant. It has this wonderful fertilizer, a 9-14-9, so you get beautiful flowers. And then it also has a systemic insecticide, so it takes care of Japanese beetles. It has a systemic fungicide, so that it will prevent the black spot on the roses. You have to use it early enough though, because it was an early season for it to get inoculated. But you can also use this on flower beds, so like phlox to prevent powdery mildew, Monarda, that's bee balm to prevent powdery mildew. And if you're going to use it in a flower bed, it's 2 ounces in 2 gallons of water, and that 2-gallon amount would drench a 12 square foot area, 3x4. And so this is great. But I was going to talk about this. When you use this on your roses, and I've used this on my roses, and it's so fun. You go out, I have no holes in my leaves on my roses, or maybe an edge, one bite, where they took one bite out of the rose leaf, it killed them. But darn it, they go up to the flowers. And this is proof that because they're up in the flowers, eating the petals of the flowers, this is proof that this is not in the flowers. It doesn't take it up into the flowers because of that wonderful, if this is the stem, and then this is the flower bud, my fist is the flower bud, where my wrist is, that's actually when the flower and the stem, there's a barrier, there's a membrane right there, sort of like the blood-brain membrane. to keep things from going right into your brain. Only certain things can go up into your brain. Well, that's how it works with the active ingredient, the insecticide. It's not in the flower parts because that membrane keeps it from going up there. So then that means the Japanese beetles can still eat the petals. So that's when you go out with a hose and hose them off and knock them off. So I hate Japanese beetles. I hate Japanese beetles. And that comes from back when I was a sweet young thing. I was an intern at Longwood Gardens. And this, if I tell you the age, I'll give the date, I'll give my age away, but I'll tell you anyway. It was 1976. That was the bicentennial year. And there were 10 gardens. And as an intern, you were in a garden each. No, there were 8 gardens. And we were there for 10 weeks. So you got multiple I was going to sentences, assignments, multiple assignments in a couple of the gardens each week. So instead of being in one garden each week only, I ended up getting in the roses 2 times while I was out there. And that I had never seen a Japanese beetle before. They hadn't moved here in the Midwest. Don't I sound like an old grandmother? Back when I was a child, we didn't have Japanese beetles here, but we didn't. They didn't get here until 1991. Is that terrible that I remember the exact date? No, that they didn't move here till then. But back then we had to wear hazmat suits because the stuff they sprayed on the plants was really toxic. And then our assignment was to go in and pick Japanese beetles off the plants. And oh my God, that was just awful. I never wanted to grow roses or deal with roses ever again my whole gardening career, but I got over it. All right, so now let's keep moving. I'm looking at the time to make sure we're good. Okay, the time is, okay, it's almost 1:30. All right, so now, again, Japanese beetles they love anything in the rose family. So roses, grapes, linden trees, crab apples, service berries, and you'll see, oh darn, I brought a sample of my strawberries that I have in hanging baskets. I have these wonderful strawberries in hanging baskets so that the animals can't get them on the ground. But the Japanese beetles attack them. And I brought a leaf in to show how it was all eaten up, and it's in my lunch bag. How awful. Okay, that was really stupid. But okay, but what they do is they eat all the tissue in between the veins of the leaves, so it just looks like stained glass windows. So that's the bad thing about Japanese beetles. Okay, so on edibles, you want to use just any of the Espoma insect control product is really good. It has it's made from an organically grown pyrethrin, and then also canola oil. And in Europe, that combination is called pyrrole. And I'd love to show you these things for people that want to be earth-friendly natural. Whenever you see that logo, it's Neudorf right there. That's the company in Germany that specializes in earth-friendly natural products. And they're the ones that taught me to say earth-friendly natural rather than just organic. And you can see right here where it says pyrrole. See where it says pyrrole is a trademark, and that's what these actives are. What's great about this is it coats the Japanese beetles and kills them. That pyrethrum is a knockdown killer, and it kills them. So if you have your edibles, you use this. So I did this on my strawberry plants to get rid of them. Okay, so this is great. This is great. Okay, let's keep moving. And all right, so, okay, yeah, I talked about the fungal leaf spots on everything, and they're really showing up on all those fungal leaf spots, like the rust, the anthracnose, the black spot on the roses, the apple scab on the crab apples, and the edible apples. They all popped up. They got inoculated 8 weeks ago, 2 months ago, and they've all popped up in the last 2 weeks. So everyone thinks that the disease is just hit now. No. They started way earlier in the season. So so you need to protect those and make a mental note to do the protection early next year so they don't get inoculated. Using the systemics are wonderful because, especially the Immunox, because when you spray it, it stays in the leaves for 14 days, even if it rains. So you're not running back out to respray after it rains. Now, these earth-friendly naturals that I just talked about, you have to run back out and respray if it rains. But, you know, it hasn't rained all summer, so just, no, I'm kidding. Okay, okay, so now, all right, here we go, here we go. Okay, the apple scab. My favorite on ornamentals is, again, the Bio Advanced, and this is the 3-in-1. And this time of year, we're seeing, you know, all the insects, Japanese beetles in particular, lots of diseases. So this is the systemic fungicide, and this is called tebuconazole. Man, it's a great one, and it lasts 30 days. These last 30 days when you spray them on the leaves. And then we're seeing tons. I am seeing every other sample that has come to the information window is covered with spider mites. So I'm encouraging people to, if you're spraying, spray with this to prevent that. Okay, here we go. Let's keep moving. Okay, oh, slugs. Slugs, because the high humidity and the high heat, all the eggs have been hatching for the slugs in the last 2 weeks. So not only are you seeing larger holes, and slugs are the ones that leave holes in the centers of the leaves. And they're going, anything that is growing close to the ground, slugs are going after. And then the baby slugs just started hatching. So make sure you're using Sluggo. Sluggo, again, look who did this one. Neudorf, there's that Neudorf again. This is the color one, I love it, with the sunflower. But Neudorf discovered that the active ingredient in Sluggo, which is iron phosphate, and it's embedded in these little granules. Here's a shaker. These little granules are like someone broke apart uncooked spaghetti. It's made from flour, sugar, and water, and the slugs can't resist it. And then with the iron phosphate embedded in it, all you need is 1 teaspoon, one teaspoon every 3 square feet underneath the leaves that are being eaten. It has a shaker top, so like Parmesan, you know, just shake it, and you do that every 2 weeks. You know, now again 2 weeks, and then a third time 2 weeks. And when you check every 2 weeks, if you're still seeing they're cream colored, it's like a cream colored particle. If you're still seeing the cream colored particle, then you don't have to reapply. But if they're gone, they don't break apart, that means the slugs have been eating them. So if you don't see them in 2 weeks, reapply. And this will really reduce the populations, and it stops the damage immediately because it kills their appetite. And so they just crawl away and die somewhere. So this is one of the best products that you have. And so it doesn't work if you don't use it. So get out there and get it sprinkled, you know, underneath those plants. Okay, Sluggo. Okay, so now, oh, baby rabbits. The baby rabbits are just horrendous this year, and there's so many of them. And they're eating the hostas. I planted 3 new coral bells, heuchera, the colored foliage heucheras in my shade garden in the front. The baby rabbits have been eating the leaves off. They just snip a leaf off here and here and there. So I've used this myself. This was our nursery bottle, so I grabbed it to show it. This is the best one to use for rabbits because it's the Liquid Fence Rabbit, and it says dual action or dual control. It has 2 different taste flavors in it. It's cinnamon. I don't you love cinnamon? And then also a capsaicin, which is a hot pepper. And that irritates their mouth parts. Doesn't kill them. It's not a fire burn. Just irritates their mouth parts. And then they go someplace else and eat something else. And you need to use it once a week for the first 2 weeks. And then once every 2 weeks. And you do that twice. And then after that, once a month. And that really repels them. It's money back guarantee. It's not working for you. You know, come back and get your money back. But it works really, really well. Okay, all right, now, oh, this is something that just started at my house, and so I know I'm gonna see a lot of these. I have a beautiful pin oak up in the front of my house, and I walked out the other day, just 2 mornings ago, and saw these broken branches out in the middle of the lawn. And most people think that squirrels have done that, but I wanna show you the tips. Okay, so see the, oh yeah, here it is. See the tip right here? Okay, oh, okay, there. See the tip? So what happens is this is called Twig Girdlers. It's an insect that she lays her eggs. She chews through the bark, you know, right there, okay, and lays an egg in there. the egg hatches, the larva chews the rest of the way. And see how it chewed its way in there? And this twig was just hanging on by that little big piece of bark. When we have high winds, and this happened Tuesday night when we did get some winds and a little bit of rain, these all dropped out because it just breaks right up. And it's so cool because it's the same on all of them. And let me show you this one. Oh, you see? Look at the end of that one. And this one you can see where they chewed, you know, they laid the eggs. They lay the eggs right here, and then the larva chewed its way through. So it's nothing to worry about. The University of Illinois and Ohio State University says there's no control necessary. You just kind of got a free pruning job, from those insects. So don't panic. But you can, if you have a large tree, and I have a 75-footer. This pin oak's been there for years and years and years. And I mean, there's a lot of branch tips that come dropping down. So don't worry though. It's not gonna kill the tree. Okay. So now what to do before I answer more of the questions. Again, sluggo. Make sure you get your sluggo down. Prepare to use earth. Whenever you're using your insecticides, use them in that earth-friendly manner where you go out at late in the afternoon or early dusk. And do the application when the pollinators are back at their hives. So you can use these chemicals in an earth-friendly manner. And I really like the systemics because you're only spraying once a month. When you're doing some of the organic or earth-friendly natural ones, you're spraying once a week or every time you see an insect. And so by that, you're going to get a lot of collateral damage, of some of the earth-friendly or some of the friendly and pollinators and the friendly insects. So I really prefer to use the systemics where it's absorbed in the leaves and stays in for 30 days. So you really are going after the bad guys that are damaging your plants. So I've been the big advocate for that for years and years and years. Okay, so now if you have used the all-in-one the all-in-one rose and flower care, this is the time to use it again. We always say April 15, June 1st, and July 15. You're about a week late, but this is the time to do that third application that takes care of it for the rest of the whole season. This I've recommended to use on boxwood also. Oh, I forgot to talk about that. I'm seeing a lot of samples of boxwood where the boxwood leaf miner emerged as adults and laid eggs on the new growth, and you can see the white dots on the underneath side of the babies that have hatched and are chewing their way in. So you need to make sure those are treated as well to keep that from happening. Okay, spray your vegetable garden weekly with either the insect control, the fungal nil, or the tomato and vegetable all-in-round sprays with the sulfur and the insecticide. And then keep applying the animal repellents, and then prepare to take good care of your lawn with that lawn fertilizer. So those are all my notes. What I'm going to do now is answer the rest of the questions. And okay, the Q&A section is like I got all of those. I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to pop open. Ooh, that was cool. This is the question and answer, or this is the chat box. Okay. All right. Garden notes. If I use a crabgrass killer on spots now, then can I still use weed and feed in August? Yes, you can. Usha, that's a great question. You can use the crabgrass killer now and then come back in. I would do it at least a month after using the crabgrass killer, and so that would put you right to the weed and feed and like the 20th or the 25th of August. Good question. Okay, and then my Kusa dogwood did not do well this year. I think it was not watered well last year. That could very well be because it was a hot, dry summer, last summer after a wet spring, and a lot of the plants didn't get a chance to get their roots established, so they really suffered last year. Okay, it was like you, it was like you showed a red bed in your last webinar. what can I do this year? Okay, what I really like to recommend on plants, if they were newly planted or if they're having trouble, use the root and grow on them, or even just give them a really, a good fertilizer. Like Holly Tone is excellent because it's such slow release, long-term fertilizer, and it's organically based. It lasts 30 days, and so doing an application right now would be wonderful. Neem oil systemic. There's not a neem oil that's systemic. Neem oil is a contact, and it's a contact insect repellent. And we actually have a product here that it's like an insecticidal soap that was derived from neem oil. So the neem oil will repel the insects, and then the insecticidal soap nature of it, it would coat an insect and kill it by smothering it. But you have to be really careful with neem oil, because if you actually find real neem oil, it can go rancid so quickly, and it's such an unstable oil that my philosophy is it's worse to spray a rancid oil in something, rather than not using anything at all. So be careful on neem oils. Okay, and what gets rid of, this is Linda Sherrill, what gets rid of violets in the lawn? Cool thing, and I'm gonna pop this back down so you can see this. Okay, what gets rid of this? This wonderful product takes care of, and it's labeled wild violets on the back label. And I'm gonna show you this to prove, that this doesn't just kill chickweed, clover, and oxalis. There's this label on here. Look, these are all 200, 200 weeds that are controlled by this, and wild violets on the label. It's one of the few products that has it on the label. So this is the best. This is the best. And we have it, in a ready-to-use spray bottle, like I was just holding. We also have it in a concentrate. But I have to give you a word of warning. Inside the label on here, and it's less expensive for the company. They have to pay every time they put a label on, and it's less expensive if they use the agricultural recommendation. And so that's what's on here, and it's almost ridiculous. Well, I'll read it to you so you can see how ridiculous it sounds. But I have done the math. Isn't it neat? I was a math major before I went into horticulture. I know, I'm a weird geek, aren't I? I should wear my black horn rim glasses that I had when I was, in grade school. My dad had black horn rim glasses. I looked like a real total nerd. Okay, hold on. Then my mom taught me how to use makeup. Okay, so here we go. So here's the recommendation. I'll read it out loud. Okay, apply this product at a rate of 2 pints in 50 gallons of water per 10,000 square feet. Now, who's ever gonna do that? Who's ever gonna do that? Or in parentheses, it says 3.2 fluid ounces in 2.5 gallons of water per 1,000 square feet. Okay, now who uses a 2.5 gallon tank? Nobody. It's a gallon or it's 2 gallons. Okay, so anyway, so I did the math. So dividing, 2.5 into 3.2 ounces, that works out to be 1.275 ounces of this in a gallon of water. So an ounce is 2 tablespoons. So you're just gonna measure 2 tablespoons of this into a gallon of water and then spray. And then that does the trick, okay? So I tell everyone that, and and if you wanna be absolutely accurate, you can do a little skosh heavier on one of those tablespoons and then get the 1.275 ounces, okay? So I know. Just ridiculous, but it works. It really works well. Okay, so now let me see. Okay, you know what? Let me look at the time again. And oh my gosh, we're wrapping up kind of early. I still have 23 people on here. And it's okay, it's the 5 questions and answers. And I'm gonna pop this up to make sure I've got all the questions and answers. I'm kind of getting this down, you guys. Okay. Oh, here we go. There's Marnie that came out. Oh, and there's Pam too. Okay, since I said Marnie's name first, I'll answer Marnie's first. It says, what are good plants for shade? No hostas. I mentioned heucheras. Okay, I'm gonna pop this down again for just a minute so we can see. Coral bells are the heucheras, and those are the heucheras with the beautiful colored foliage. My favorite is called citronelle, and it's this beautiful lemony yellow one, and it's a real toughie. It has the the South Carolina native in its heritage. So it survives our high humidity and our high heat. That's great. Brunera is the common name is bug loss. I hate the common name, but Brunera is beautiful. And my favorite cultivar of Brunera is called Jack Frost. And they're big heart-shaped leaves. It blooms in the spring, and it has these little tiny blue flowers in a cluster that comes up above the foliage, tiny blue flowers with yellow eyes, and it looks beautiful with any daffodils in the garden. So it flowers early, and then it produces these new big leaves that really contrast with hostas and then the heucheras or the corabelles. I also like tiarellas. Those are that's actually foam flower. It's an excellent one for shade. Astilbes are just phenomenal for shade. Absolutely lovely, lovely, lovely for shade. And then you can plant some coral bells. And I talked about coral bells. Bleeding hearts, also very good. And they make a nice combination. And then all the ferns, Japanese painted ferns. Oh, there are just so many wonderful things. Come to Chalet and walk along the main aisle, our perennial aisle. And to the left are all the benches that are the shade plants. And then to the right are all the sun-loving perennials. You can get some wonderful ideas. We also have the display beds right when you walk in the gate underneath the deciduous larches that are right there. Great ideas on what to plant together to give beautiful contrast and beautiful texture and beautiful interest. That was a great question. Okay, let me pop this up again. And I'm seeing I have more chat box. Okay, there was oh no, what did I do? Okay, sorry everybody. Okay, there you go. I'm popping it up so I can read all the questions. Okay, and then is there a way to control what I think is morning glory vine that has invaded my ground cover? Ooh, that's a toughie. You're gonna have to hand weed that out, and then sprinkle something like preen in it, or if you want to use an earthly natural, use corn gluten meal, and that'll keep the seeds from germinating. And do that every 2 months, and that keeps the seeds from germinating. But you're probably gonna have to pull those vines out. The nice thing when it's a vine, it's easy to grab it and you just follow it all the way back. The best product for tomato worms. Okay. The best product for tomato worms is the and I don't know if you can. I'm gonna make sure you can see me by popping this back down again. Okay. And oh, I have to do this. I'm gonna move it over. Okay. There we go. There we go. This is a great one for tomato worms. It kills them right on contact. And spray at dusk, at the end of the day, dusk or early evening. You won't kill any pollinators, and then spray, and you want to get the wet spray on them, and then that will kill them. And this is the best. It's earthly natural. Okay, the next. Let's go over to the chat box. I'm going to pop that up so I'm seeing all of these. Okay, here we go. Okay, so the chat box we answered. Okay, the neem oil. What gets rid of violets? I noticed that Boston ivy, oh yeah. Oh, Boston ivy has completely covered my yews. Ooh, can they survive together, or will the Boston ivy strang out the yews? Yes, oh my gosh. If they're covering the surface of the yews, you want to prune them off over the surface. Cut those. If they're growing up through the yews and over the yews, that means you've got beautiful stand of it someplace else. You need to cut it off from over the tops of the yews. And actually you want to get it out from underneath the bottom, the ground level too, because it's rooting in and it's going to outcompete the yews for the nutrients and also the water. Prune all that out and try to keep that under control. Don't let that grow back up over the top. And I have to confess, as much as I had Boston ivy all up the sides of my house for years and years and years and years, and I loved it because I loved the fall color. Well, then I found out it was growing up in between the awnings, and it grew up in between that and up into my attic, and actually as the stems got large, it cracked open. So then I ended up having water go into the attic over my garage. So I had to have my siding replaced 3 years ago, and so I decided to just tear down all of the Boston ivy. And I took it off, even off the brick parts of my house, because I just didn't want it growing up on the siding again, because it just ruined the siding. And I've kept it down. You know, I spray it with Roundup when I see it starting to come back up again. So, you know, so I'm not a big fan of Boston ivy any longer after seeing what the damage. It didn't hurt the grout, you know, on my bricks. It just grew up and it got over, you know, the what do they call that? The soffits of the roof that are hanging over the side of the house. It grew up in between the soffit and the rooftop, and then popped the seal. Oh God, what a mess. Okay, now here's another question. Does diatomaceous earth naturally take care of lawn control? Well, it can. Theoretically, it can. But you have to, it's a dust. And once it gets wet, it's not effective. And then the problem with diatomaceous earth, if you breathe it when you're spreading it around, that the particles are really abrasive. And if you inhale it, you can damage your vocal cords. And it gets into your lungs, it can cause damage too. I am not a big fan of diatomaceous earth for that reason. I actually had experience where I inhaled too much of it, and I was hoarse for like 3 days afterwards. So you have to be really careful. And the fact I don't like is that once it gets wet, it's not effective anymore. And you know, they say to use it, you know, slugs don't like to crawl across it, but once it gets wet, it's not effective. So I'd rather recommend using insecticides, and use them in an earth-friendly manner. And you know, I think you get better control with that than diatomaceous earth. So I know, you know, it's considered earth-friendly natural, but a lot of times, you know, there are more side effects that, you know, than it's not as effective, and then you get side effects. So to me, that I think there's better things to use, better products to use. So great questions. We're at 152 right now, and I'm going to say thank you. I'm seeing some wonderful thank yous come up on the chat boxes and the question and answers. Thank you everybody. And you know, always know that you can to get a question to Chalet. We have our customer call center, and you can make a phone call, and I think we have 8 people now answering the phones, and then they direct your call to the person who can answer it. We have something new out in the plant information center. We actually have a phone number. Oh my gosh, I think it's extension 634. I think. I should know that before I say it out loud. But the call center is directing calls out there, so you don't get lost in the email track that we used to always have. You can also email directly, and it's hello, HELLO, at chaleznursery.com. And then all of these products that I've talked about today are on our Chalet webpage. And I think it's been labeled, you know, you go to shop online, and there's a section about the Garden Coach products. So they're there, and whatever I've talked about, you can go and order it directly online for either shipping for delivery or curbside pickup, or you also know that they're here in the store. You can always come in and pick them up. Okay, here's some more chat questions coming up. What to do? Let me see what to do to grow good peonies. Okay, my favorite is to. I love using this on the peonies. I think this is fabulous. The all-in-one, got the systemic insecticide, the systemic fungicide, and that great fertilizer. And doing it 3 times a season is excellent. I also like a wonderful fertilizer from the Dr. Earth company called Bud and Bloom Booster, and we just got a shipment back in. We were out of it, and it's a 4-pound bag. There's 2 cups in a pound, and you use 1 cup around the base of each plant. They say 1 cup every 10 square feet. I have really mature peonies that fill out a 3 by 3 square foot area, and so that's 9 square feet. So I just put a cup down around the base. Now is a perfect time because they're taking all that nutrient and recharging their tubers and setting their flower buds for next year. So get that fertilizer on them right now. And it's not too late. It's not too late. You don't want to fertilize after the 15th of August ever on anything. Okay, so this is the perfect time right now. Okay, let me pop this back up because I'm seeing a lot more chats. Come on, okay. So, okay, thanks so much. Thank you. Oh, it's so nice you're saying that. Okay, another great presentation. Thank you so much. And you appreciate the printout. Thank you so much. Thank you. You have a good weekend too, Miriam. Okay, and then thank you, so helpful. Okay, I feel like my garage isn't big enough for all these types of products. What is your favorite once and done? Oh, that's great. This is from Joan Johns. And is there a good general product that will control various issues? Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna pop this back down so make sure you can see this. Okay, this is if you want something that will take care of everything, this is it right here. And do it as a drench, and you're not spraying. And this will take care of anything and everything on a flowering plant. Now you can't use this on edibles. You can't use it on edibles, but anything that's ornamental, you can use it on your shrubs. You can, and especially shrubs. And we have this horticulture argument all the time. Even small ornamental trees, if they're below 20 feet tall, then you can use this on them. And you use the shrub recommendation. And then horticulturists are always arguing, is it really a small tree or just a large shrub whenever it's under 18 feet or 24 feet or lower? And this will work on that. And you use the shrub recommendation, and it's 1 ounce per foot of plant height, and then per 1 quart of water. Anytime it's over 4 quarts, it's just a gallon. And so this is if you have this on hand, this would take care of it, but you do have to use it prior. If you wait till you see insects, this isn't as good because it takes a while for it to be translocated from the roots up to the tips of the branches. So if you see insects like Japanese beetles, you want to use the spray. And actually, this is kind of its cousin, and this is the insect disease and mite control. No fertilizer in it, but this would, if you don't know what's wrong with the plant, you just looks funky, you can spray this on it. Usually it will take care of whatever's bugging it, whether bothering it. But I shouldn't recommend that. That's not the best way to do that. But I hope that helped you, Joan, to know what to have that you can just go to. Okay, and then super tips, Usha, thank you. And thank you, you're amazing. Thank you, Joan, that's wonderful. Okay, and okay, everybody, this is, okay, oh, we're 3 minutes till shutdown. So I'm just gonna say thank you because I started early, and I hope to see you at the Plant Info Center, and I'm there every day. My 2 days off are Sundays and Mondays, but I'm there every other day. So except when I'm doing a program like this or doing a webinar. So thank you all. You are wonderful, and keep coming to Chalet. We couldn't do it without you. So thank you so much. Goodbye. Bye-bye.